Hello my dear friends, this is your friend Dark Fox 3.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto was adopted by Hana, and built his own Konoha family? Part 1. And now let's start the fanfic. Uzumaki Naruto was a shinobi from Konohagakure. As such he was doing a mission with his team. Much to his dismay however this particular mission was just to retrieve laundry for a client who had sent their laundry to another small town in order to avoid the prices. His sensei Hatake Kakashi was nowhere to be found. He claimed he was scouting the area for enemies but Naruto knew a lie when he saw it. Haruno Sakura had won a coin flip earlier and as such was out enjoying herself shopping while Naruto was forced to watch over the infernal machines. After returning from his 3-year training trip with the Toad Sage Jiraiya, the 15-year-old blonde had been literally jumping with joy at the thought of a mission. His enthusiasm dampened when he was informed as to what mission his Junin sensei had accepted. However, he needed the funds so he tolerated the idea. This mission is so boring. The young man sighed to himself, all I do is just sit here for 20 minutes until the laundry dries. Why did they need a ninja for that? I mean anyone could do it. I should be out fighting bad guys and, hold on a second, was it 20 and 40? Maybe 60. Just to make sure the young man decided that he would check back every 5 or so seconds to ensure that the laundry didn't catch fire. After around 10 seconds he grew even more bored. He hated waiting more than almost anything. A short distance away from the blonde sat a little girl no older than 7. She was wearing a dirty purple kimono that looked as though it had been thrown out before reaching its current owner. The kimono was very simple and appeared to have lilies on it. Its former beauty was obvious to any who looked. The girl wore a small flower in her hair which complemented her pale skin and large blue eyes. The flower was nestled between her left ear and her long dark brown hair. One couldn't be sure of her natural hair color however as it appeared as though it hadn't been washed in a few years. This girl seemed utterly transfixed on the blonde. She had never seen someone get so impatient with an inanimate object. What's he doing? She asked herself as she watched him make a weird symbol with his hands. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto exclaimed loudly, which unknown to him caused the girl to jump, as 3 clones popped into existence with only a light smoke screen to mask their entrance. Alright you two, I need you to go and find the following things. He started marking off what he wanted as the 2 clones nodded. The little girl stood wide-eyed as she stared at the sight before her. How did he make himself into more people? Her mind whirled with activity as she considered every possibility. He could be a magician. But then why isn't he wearing a hat and why didn't he use a wand? Okay, so maybe he's a fairy. Wait, no. He's too big for that. Is he a god? No. He's too young for that. Maybe. No. He couldn't be a ninja, could he? No, of course not. The little girl chuckled to herself a little. Ninjas are just myths. Just jokes that people tell each other about. Still, the longer she considered, the possibility of him being a ninja was oddly tempting. If he's a ninja, he'll have money, right? Naruto baka. A voice screamed from outside the building. The girl quickly turned to face the newcomer to the laundromat. What she saw scared her. A large menacing ogress that stood 200 feet tall. She possessed 3 eyes situated below her bloody white hair. In reality it was just Haruno Sakura yelling at Naruto, however to the young girl's mind she was every bit as fearsome as the most powerful demon. We told you not to use jutsu, didn't we? The ogress bellowed to the heaven, sending 3 of the 4 into oblivion before flinging the other to the gates of hell. What actually happened was Sakura destroyed the clones before knocking Naruto into one of the machines. We don't need to draw any attention to ourselves. You heard what Kakashi-sensei said. Sorry Sakura-chan, Naruto said, rubbing a bump that had formed on his head from hitting the machine. Whatever baka. We should get out of here. The laundry's done. I still can't believe we got stuck with this mission. Sakura mumbled to herself as she prepared the clothes for travel. The little girl stood and followed them at a distance, ducking behind trees and other obstructions to avoid being seen, until they met up with a third man. He must be at least 300 years old. The girl thought to herself, observing the man. He could be a god. She considered. He even has a book. Maybe that's where he keeps the names of those he steals from the earth. Her imagination kicked into overdrive as she easily confirmed her theory. Yeah. That makes sense. Those two are probably Death's assistants. Ready to leave Naruto? Hitaki Kakashi asked his pupil as he pocketed his Ika Ika Paradise book into his shuriken holder. He was staring past Naruto and Sakura directly at the little girl. She's well hidden for a civilian. An academy student could have done better. But for someone so young and with so little experience, she certainly picked a good location. He thought to himself as Naruto answered him. Yeah, I can't wait. The blonde bellowed. His eagerness to finish this mission could practically be physically felt. Alright, we'll leave as soon as we finish up one more loose end. The cycloptic ninja replied. Loose end? Sakura asked curiously, knowing that they had fulfilled all mission requirements. You can come out now, little girl, was all he said as he pointed to the bush that housed the young girl. His action caused the two others to look over to the bush and finally notice the little girl. It's now or never, she said as she stumbled from the bush to stand before the divine creatures in front of her, putting on the most determined face she could muster. You, she shouted, pointing at Naruto, my name is Hana, and you are my new daddy. Naruto just stared at the little girl. He stared and stared. He stared the longest he'd stared at anything before, so around 9 seconds. Me? He asked, pointing to himself. Yeah, you're my daddy, Hana said, smiling, taking his actions to mean he had accepted. I decline, the blonde stated, turning around. Naruto, I don't think she was offering. Kakashi stated. The little girl reminded him of someone. He couldn't place it, but she was like someone he knew. Yeah, the old man is right, Hana shouted, pointing at Kakashi. I'm not old, Kakashi muttered weakly. No one had called him the word before. Ever. That was why he hung around with Guy. It made him feel young, which he was, but after all, once he got old, Guy would start challenging him to prune juice drinking contests, and Kakashi didn't want that. But you have white hair, mister, Hana said, walking slowly towards the Hitaki. As if to prove a point, she pointed at it. It's silver, Kakashi said. Looks white to me, Hana stated. Silver, white, silver, white, silver. Daddy, tell him it's daddy, Hana said. Naruto was nowhere in sight. Naruto, tell her it's Naruto, Kakashi said a little more calmly. He didn't notice that his current favorite had left. Come on, you know that his new favorite's not Sakura. Nearby in a bush. These two are insane. I can't take care of a kid. I can barely take care of myself. Scratch that, I can take care of myself perfectly, I just can't take care of women. Naruto thought as he watched them look for him to settle the argument. Got that right, kid, the Kyuubi said in Naruto's mind. What do you mean by that, baka fox? Naruto nearly said aloud. Face it, if people didn't tell you who the girls were, you'd think they were men, Kyuubi continued. That's not true, Naruto defended himself. Prove it. Name all the girls in your age group. Kyuubi chuckled. Sakura, Ino, that's it, Naruto thought. Though those were the only two he could think of, he knew that he had talked to at least one more. Wrong, Kit. However, you're taking care of that kid, Kyuubi stated seriously. Why? Naruto yelled in his mind, wondering why the fox would care at all. Look at her. She's obviously poor. There'd be no harm in letting her go back to your village, said the Kyuubi. Plus, I've always wanted a kid, he thought. Really? Naruto didn't think she looked poor, just dirty. Amazing how he didn't put those two together, huh? I tire of this conversation. You're adopting the girl, Kyuubi said, sending a blast of demonic chakra through Naruto, alerting Kakashi of Naruto's location. Ah, baka fox, Naruto yelled, alerting the other two, Sakura and Hana, to his presence. There you are, Naruto, now. Kakashi began but never finished as a blur ran past him. Naruto didn't know what happened that second. First Kakashi was talking to him, then he got tackled by a bear. He looked down at the small creature. Daddy, I thought I'd lost you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, Hana said near tears. I'm not your dad, Naruto shouted. You are my daddy, Hana stated, looking at Naruto as an adult looks at a child who just stole a cookie from the jar. Naruto, just level with her. Hana was it. You seem to be lost, so how about we help you find your parents? Sakura said, putting in her 2 cents. Yeah, Naruto shouted. Quote. Kakashi remained silent. The girl's eyes, which were bright with joy just 5 seconds ago, were now dull with despair. What happened? The elder shinobi asked. Huh, Naruto and Sakura both said at the same time. This girl was just running away from home, right? To who? Hana asked quietly. Your parents. The Hitaki asked quietly. There, not here, the girl said in a small voice. A tear seemed to slide down her cheek. Oh, Naruto and Sakura both said quietly. But that's okay now, cause I got me a new daddy. Hana shouted into the heavens. Kakashi's sweat dropped. He remembered now who the girl reminded him of, Guy. He really had thought that Guy was the only person who could bounce back from such a sad event so fast. So when do we leave Grandpa? Hana asked Kakashi. Her eyes looked so happy that he couldn't tell her that he wasn't old enough to be a granddad. Right away. We're going to a shinobi village, so don't get too excited. Kakashi stated, trying to sound sage-like. Hey, someone had to. Yeah, right, shinobi aren't real. Hana said as if she had just said that air was good. Quote. Yes they are, Kakashi said. She really is weird. He thought. Daddy, tell him that ninja aren't real, Hana pleaded. Actually, Hana, we're all shinobi, Sakura stated. She'd remained quiet throughout this episode because it was really funny to watch Kakashi argue with a little girl. Nah, there's no such thing. They can't be real. If they were, mommy would be alive. Hana said, looking as though she was going to cry. Hana, shinobi can't be everywhere at once. Naruto said. Quote. Okay daddy, if you say so then they must be real. Hana yelled. We've wasted about an hour on this, so can we please go back to the village, Sakura stated. No one seemed to go back to Konoha for some reason. They like the little girl as Waicha. Inner Sakura pointed out. Sakura is right, Naruto. Come on Hana, Kakashi said, walking down the dirt road that lead to Konoha. Yeah, let's go daddy, Hana said, jumping up on Naruto's back from a rock. They all started heading down the road. Nearby the cries of, it's white, and, it's silver, could be heard with increasing vigor. Hey Whitey, when are we getting to Konoha? Hana asked while still riding on poor Naruto's back. It's silver and it's Konoha, and we'll be arriving in about 3 minutes, Kakashi stated angrily. Who could have guessed he'd get annoyed? The whole trip had been like that. Even though they were only an hour away at ninja speed, they had to slow down for Hana, who Naruto still wasn't sure about adopting. The first half had been spent arguing about Kakashi's hair color. Sakura and Kakashi said it was silver while Hana stuck with it being white. Naruto was busy trying not to fall over with the little girl on his back. The third quarter of the trip was spent with Hana asking question after question about ninjas. This discussion stopped after Naruto had collapsed from the extra weight, and they were nearing the end right now. Kakashi-sensei, please, get her off, Naruto pleaded the older man. Daddy, do you want me to get off? Hana asked. Yes, please. I'll do anything, Naruto begged. Then get me food when we get to Ninja Town, Hana demanded. Food? Ichiraku, of course, Naruto yelled. Revitalized with the thought of ramen, he broke into a quick jog. Naruto, slow down, Sakura yelled as she started to run too. In the village things were calm. It was a slow day for visitors and shinobi alike. Hinata, you should really stop staring out the window and focus on my lesson, Hiyashi Hyuga stated. Why yes father, Hinata said, bowing as she redirected her attention on her dad. Today was a special day for Hinata, the day that she would finally confess to Naruto. Her dad babbled on and on about how to control chakra during a Jiyuken strike. Yes then you, bubbles in the lunatic's soapbox are tasty treats. Wouldn't you agree Hinata? Hiyashi asked his daughter. Hi father, Hinata said, still not paying attention in the least. I was afraid of this. Hiyashi said. Hinata, he shouted loudly, if this is how you're going to act as an heiress, I'll have to put the caged bird seal on you. I don't want to, but I must uphold the honor of the clan. That is all for today, dismissed. Remember, I will expect you to work twice as hard tomorrow, Hiyashi said. Come on, every father loves their children, Hiyashi just has to look out for a bunch of other people too. Hi father, sorry, Hinata stuttered as she ran out of the training room. She had a lot to do if she was going to confess. Hinata-sama, are you going somewhere? Neji Hyuga asked his cousin as she rushed towards the door. No Neji ni-san, Hinata stuttered before nearly running through the door. If that is the power of the main branch, then I have to worry. Neji stated before going off to do Neji things. Ichiraku Ramen. Famed hangout of Uzumaki, Naruto. Highest number of bowls eaten in one sitting, 134 large. Fastest bowl of ramen eaten, 30 seconds, both records achieved by Uzumaki, Naruto. Daddy, are you sure this place is good? Hana asked as she looked at her dirty kimono. Hana, this place is where the heavens said, I can do no better than this. Even the most vile person in the world wouldn't hurt this institution. I spend most of my money here, so please do not insult this place, ever, Naruto said, sounding rather intelligent. What can I get you? Naruto, who is she? Tuki, old man Ichiraku aka Ramen Chef, asked, looking at Hana. Well, Naruto started. He's my daddy, Hana said with a proud look on her face. Quote. So, who's the mom? Tuki asked, disbelief spread all over his aged face. The girl looked about 6 to 7 years old at least, and that would have meant that Naruto impregnated someone when he was 9, and as far as Tuki knew, this was impossible. She's adopted? Well, more like she adopted me, Naruto said as he explained the situation to Tuki and Ayame, Tuki's daughter. Yeah, just like that, Hana said. Well, as congratulations, how about the first 2 bowls are on the house, Tuki said. I can't climb though, Hana whined, thinking the first 2 bowls really were on the building's roof. I mean, the first 2 bowls are free. One for you and one for your dad, Tuki stated, looking at the girl. Free ramen. Thanks, old man, Naruto and Hana said at the same time. Here you go, Tuki proclaimed, setting 2 bowls of ramen. It's a new recipe, please try it. Okay, they said in tandem. The following incident would shock anyone who had ever entered Ichiraku, or heard of it, or anyone who knew Naruto, or anyone who knew anything of human anatomy for that matter. Done. Wow, Naruto, it must have. Naruto? Tuki asked. Sitting there with an empty bowl was Hana. Naruto was still eating, oblivious that his record had been broken by 15 seconds. Can I have more? Hana asked. She didn't get a lot to eat since it happened, but this was the good. She really hoped she could have more. Because of the rule, yes. You do get more, Tuki said. The rule being that anyone who broke a record got 1 free bowl of ramen and a discount on every other bowl they ordered. A small rule, but hey, a lot of people gave it a shot. Many failed. Yay, Hana yelled. Done, Naruto yelled, setting his bowl down. He looked over to Hana, who was smiling at him. He then noticed that she was already done. She didn't beat me, she just put her bowl down first, Naruto thought frantically, in denial. Approximately 5 minutes earlier, Hinata was walking towards Ichiraku. She'd already checked with Tsunade to see if Naruto was back from his mission. When Tsunade said yes, Hinata nearly ran out of the office towards Ichiraku. As she approached the institution, she thought, there's Naruto-kunen. There shouldn't be an no and, there's never an and, ever. She thought of the several thousand other times she had seen him in the shop, and none of them showed any recollection of another person there ever. Calm down, Hinata. Maybe it's a guy, she thought in a last-ditch attempt of calming herself. This thought, however, flew out the window when she noticed the flowery kimono. It's just a friendly date then, she screamed in her head, it has to be. She noticed that Naruto leaned over closer to kiss the girl. She didn't notice that the girl was only around the age of 7 and that Naruto was just looking into Hana's bowl though. Panicking people often don't notice small details like this. So he's got a date. Hinata took this better than she thought she would. Fine, if I can't have him, no one can. Without any thought, Hinata started to charge the ramen stand to put an end to this date. She'd already planned out how to finish it quickly. The flap flew back behind Naruto. Huh, was all he could mutter before he noticed a wide-eyed Hinata in a Juyuken stance, hand in mid-strike. Oh hey Hinata, are you trying to spar with me? Naruto asked, oblivious to the fact that if Hana hadn't turned around they would all 3 have been dead in a matter of seconds. Oh, it's just a little girl. A mere coincidence perhaps, Hinata thought wondering. She spent a like this before she remembered that she was about to kill Naruto. Hey daddy, why is the blind lady pointing at you? Why is she turning red? Is she a tomato? Hana asked. Daddy. This was Hinata's final thought of the hour, before she fell into Naruto. Unconscious, of course. Hinata. Naruto said, unprepared for this, also fell to the ground trying to push the unconscious girl off of him. Tomato is attacking daddy. He's going to get crushed. Then he's going to turn blue. Then he's going to turn purple. Then he's going to turn green. Hana yelled, running back and forth yelling that, Daddy, was going to turn every shade of the rainbow before being crushed to nothingness. She was of course over-exaggerating, but little kids have such overactive imaginations. Don't panic, Hana. Hinata's actually not that heavy, Naruto said, lifting the unconscious girl off of himself. Well, we better take her to the hospital though. Naruto said thoughtfully. Yeah daddy, we need to get Hinata to the hospital. Hana yelled, smiling. Naruto, I don't think that's necessary, just take her home. Oh, and I'm writing Uzumaki. Hana on the plaque, I hope that's okay, Tuki said. Ah young love, he thought. Ah young love, thought Kyuubi, reminiscing. Ah youthful love. Guy thought he was bored, so he decided to go look at the knowledgeable girl who had deduced Kakashi's hair was white. We all know that Guy thinks this. Don't deny it. If you say so, old man, Naruto said, picking Hinata up bridal style. Let's go, Hana. Oh, and it's Hinata and hospital. Hinata was feeling weird. She felt like she was being carried. That's not right. What happened? She asked herself. I went to Ichiraku. I was going to kill Naruto. But something stopped me. What was it? She opened her eyes. Oh, you're awake, that's. Naruto began. He never finished. She had fainted again. Daddy, I think she's dead. Hana said, poking Hinata in the chest with a crooked stick. Stop that, Hana. She's fine. Naruto stated, brushing the stick off of Hinata. Hinata was having a great dream. It involved her and Naruto in a lot of, well, let's just say that it made everything in Jiraiya's books look like innocent kisses on the cheek. Fear the dark recesses of a shy person's mind. If anyone had looked closely, they would have noticed a slight nosebleed on the innocent Hyuga's face. Here we are, Naruto said. A blind person's home? Hana asked. Everyone had no eyes. A few of the Hyugas were staring at this point. No, this is the Hyuga's house, Naruto stated. Many of the Hyugas stopped staring. So it's all girls? Hana asked, noticing their long hair. Many angry glares were sent in her direction. No, there are men here too, Naruto said, noticing the stares. They all look weak compared to you, Daddy, Hana said happily. They were no longer staring, it was more of a, boy, I wish I could kill that kid, glare. Actually, some of the strongest people in the village are from here, Naruto pointed out. Naruto, why are you carrying my cousin? Neji asked in a low voice. Ah, blind lady is related to Tomato. Hana screamed. Quote. Give me that, Neji said, taking Hinata from Naruto just as one would take a sack of dirt from someone they didn't like. Take your daughter and please leave before Hiashi-sama comes. Okay, Neji, Naruto said. He was used to stares and he knew which ones meant death if you didn't vacate the premises immediately. There were about 100 of those sent at Hana at this point. Bye, scary lady, Hana said happily. Neji's eyebrow twitched in anger, rage, a more accurate term, as he walked to put Hinata into her room. The next day. Hinata sat up groggily in her bed. What happened? She wondered. After such a good night's sleep, full of naughty dreams, Hinata felt ready to start her day. As soon as she remembered why she fainted. A few feet away from her on her dresser there was a note. The note read, Dear Hinata-sama, Naruto and his daughter came by the other day with you unconscious, so I put you in your room, signed Neji. A blush ran to Hinata's cheeks. She'd been fantasizing about Naruto with Naruto nearby. I hope I didn't do anything, she thought. By 11 o'clock she was at the training ground where her team met. Today was a slow training day lasting about half as long as a normal session. Today they were working on being able to spot one another. Shino had one around and Kiba had one too. This time Hinata was going to win. Kurenai was sitting out because of her pregnancy. Hinata had spotted Shino and was about to call out when. Team come here, Kurenai shouted. Once they had assembled she continued, I was informed that Naruto has adopted a lit girl. Adopted. This made Hinata feel a great deal better. And they're coming here so that Uzumaki, Hana can get a good idea on how shinobi work, Kurenai said. Hinata's teammates took the news differently. Kiba was shouting about how awesome Naruto's daughter would find him, Shino by being Shino, and Hinata, who panicked, oh no, this is going to end badly. Hey, we're here. A voice cried out. Naruto was carrying Hana Piggy back again. Hey Baka, Kiba yelled towards Naruto. Shut up dog breath, Naruto shouted right back. Please Kiba, his daughter is present, Shino said. Hey mister you look cool, Hana said about a foot from Shino. Here we go again, Shino thought, oh and is this cool? He said releasing a torrent of bugs from his body. He knew how this went, she'd freak out and panic and avoid Shino forever. So predictable. Hana's eyes went wide. That is the coolest thing ever. She yelled jumping up and down with excitement. Anyone who wasn't there outright did not believe what happened next. Shino, yes the Shino walked over to the little girl, got down on one knee and gave her a hug that would have made Guy proud. Just to recap Shino, knee, hug, girl. A single tear slid down his face, thank you, then as if nothing happened he got back up and resumed his passive stance. I'll explain my reason for doing this after being avoided for having bugs in him someone saying he's cool for it just made Shino's year. No one spoke for a few moments. Okay team, I want Shino and Kiba to spar for Hana just some basic stuff okay. Hinata, Naruto go sit over there. Kurenai said slyly. BBB. Hinata began but stopped after Naruto grabbed her hand and drug her over to the designated spot. Let's go Hinata. Hana's going to make them do big jutsu I just know it. Naruto said to the glowing Hinata, honestly you could have cooked on that blush. So Naruto-kun. How's training going? She asked blushing hard. Oh it's great Naruto said as he began to ramble on about training. He hasn't let go. Hinata thought over and over concentrating on the fact that Naruto was still holding her hand. Over with Shino and Kiba. Suga. Kiba yelled spinning rapidly. Go Uncle Shino you can do it, Hana yelled from the sidelines as Shino dodged Kiba who kept spinning towards Naruto and Hinata unable to stop. Hinata, move. Naruto yelled diving to move Hinata out of the way as Kiba crashed into a tree. You okay Hinata? Naruto asked. Hinata fainted at this point noticing Naruto was close enough to kiss her. It didn't help that his hand had fallen on her chest during the fall. Daddy, you killed her. Oh my god she's dead. Daddy, uncle, what do we? Help. Hana started yelling running around all the while shouting, help. Hana, she's fine. Just fainted. Shino stated calmly to the little girl placing a hand on her shoulder, again nobody believed this when Naruto told them. Really? Okay as long as tomato is okay. Hana said. You just need to take her home Naruto. Kurenai said. Why me? The blonde asked. Because you're the one feeling her up. Kurenai responded. It was an accident. Naruto yelled blushing a little as he picked Hinata up bridal style to take her home. Bye Uncle Shino, Hana yelled waving over her back as she ran to catch up with her, daddy. Man she must be really sick. Ah crap I must have hurt her. Naruto said. Hinata muttered in her sleep as some blood seeped from her nose. Why? Hana asked. Because her nose is bleeding, the blonde said. Why? Hana responded. Because she must have gotten hurt during the fall. Why? Because her nose is bleeding. Naruto restated. Hana began. Stop asking why I told you why. Naruto yelled. Are we where scary lady lives yet? Hana asked. Please call him Neji at least. Naruto said sweat dropping. So he's a Okama? Hana asked. Okama means transvestite. No. Don't call him that. Naruto yelled in desperation. Naruto. What did you do this time? Neji said. This is why he hated guard duty. He always got the weirdos. Hey Okama, Hana yelled happily. Quote. Get out. Now, Neji said, taking Hinata from Naruto and walking away angrily. Hana, we should go, now. Naruto said. He noticed that a few Hyuga were sending very angry glares at them. Now. Naruto said, picking Hana up, and ran quicker than Rock Lee out of there. This was the third day Hana was here. Naruto liked the girl, he really did, but this was one thing he could do without. She keeps taking the blanket, he thought, crying a little. They'd had to share a bed until Naruto could get her one. If only I had rich friends. I could get her a bed. Naruto muttered as he got up. He was overlooking the fact that he had 3 very rich friends: Konohamaru, Neji, and Hinata, although come to think of it, at this point the last thing Neji wants to do is give Naruto money for Hana. Hana opened her eyes as she felt Naruto get up. Hey daddy, can I go around the village today? Hana asked. She really wanted to explore the village without Naruto. Just to get a feel for it. Fine. Just be here by 6, Naruto said, half asleep. Okay daddy, she yelled. About 5 minutes after this happened, Naruto's danger senses went off. He knew that he'd done something bad but couldn't place it. He took stock of everything around him and found nothing out of the ordinary. Baka, the girl is missing. Kyuubi yelled. He found the girl was the perfect kid for him. She was funny and she bothered the crap out of Naruto. He'd always wanted a kid to teach. They brought joy to the world in their own special way. Not that I'd tell anyone I thought that, he added hastily. Girl? Naruto asked. Hana. And with that piece of wisdom he zoomed out the door. Wow, there are so many things here. Hana said as she looked everywhere, from under rocks to the top of buildings. No one messed with her. Why? Because they didn't get the time, she was running too fast. Hey, wait a second. Is that Uncle Shino? She said loudly, running up to hug Shino violently. Hello Hana, Shino said, returning the hug. The entire Aburame clan was starved for human attention, so they took it in any form they could get. Fighting, mosquitoes, TV. So for someone to hug you just being nice was like hitting the lottery. What are you doing, uncle? Hana asked, letting go. I was going to do nothing but relax today, lie. However, since you're here Hana, we could go meet my team, almost lie, and just hang out, Shino said, inviting her to just hang out. Is Tomato going to be there? Hana asked. If she's still sick then I don't think she should be out. Hinata is not sick. However, she is not accustomed to being around your daddy, Shino said. Good one Shino, you almost blew Hinata's secret. It's just like I tell you, never ever. Anyway, you get the point of what Shino thought. Well, how do we get them a costume to each other? Hana asked, staring at Shino with big eyes. I suppose they'd just have to spend time together, Shino said. Nice excuse Shino, my boy. If you get any more great ideas, check into a mental ward. Anyway, that was the gist of what Shino thought. Really? Hana said. Yes. Here we are. Shino stated. You know, you just state the obvious a lot. Why do you talk to yourself so much in your head? In real life you'll say about 8 words in a conversation, but no, with me it's yak yak yak. Anyway, that is the main point of what he was thinking. Hey Shino, what's the brat doing here? Kiba asked. The little brat thought that Shino could beat him. Ha. I invited her, Shino said. If you listened carefully you could hear a slight buzzing originating from Shino. Hello Hana, Hinata said, bowing slightly. Hey Tomato, you seem healthier, Hana said. Hana, sit over there while we train for a bit, okay? Shino said gently. Really now, even the people who were there didn't believe this one. Okay uncle, have fun with Tomato, Hana said, running off to sit by a tree. Oh my, where is she? Naruto yelled while running through Konoha. Where is who? Naruto, Lee said, appearing beside Naruto. Yes, who are you looking for on this youthful day? Guy said, appearing on Naruto's other side. Hana, my adopted daughter, Naruto said loudly. The youthful genius who found Kakashi's secret? Guy asked. Yeah, Naruto said. Have you seen her? No, but come over to our training ground real fast and I'll find 2 people to look for our youthful little friend, Guy said, turning left quickly. Great practice Kiba, Shino said quietly. Yeah Uncle Shino, you're the best. Hana yelled. Kiba, are you alright? Hinata asked. Yeah, my skull's just numb, Kiba said. Shino had repeatedly slammed his head into a tree. Okay. We all know that numb skull over there is okay, but what do you guys do now? Hana asked over Kiba's objections at his nickname. Now we're going to go to the tea shop and rest, Shino said. However, if you would like, we could go somewhere else. Now this little sentence invoked 3 different reactions in 3 different people. Kiba was ticked off because he had been trying for years to get their hangout location changed. Hinata blushed, remembering a naughty part of her dream last night where Naruto had said something similar. Hana, however, just started thinking of where they could go. Do you guys know Ichiraku Ramen? She asked. Okay team, this is a mission to find one Uzumaki, Hana. Guy said to all assembled. Lee, Neji, Tenten and Naruto were all awaiting orders. Any questions? Guy continued. Is this an assassination mission? Neji asked, sounding very happy at the possibility. No. Guy backing up a few steps. What does she look like? Asked Tenten. Just like this. Guy said, taking out a picture of Hana. Guy sensei, how did you get a picture of her? I don't even have a picture of her, Naruto asked. Oh well, you see, I just take pictures of all the very youthful people and all the very non-youthful people and put it on my wall to help me get more youthful. Guy lied. In reality, he'd been taking pictures of a girl he liked and Hana just happened to get in the way. Okay then, Naruto said, taking a few steps back. The first person who finds her picks the team schedule for the week. Guy proclaimed, speeding off. Oh. Okay then, she might be, guys. Where'd ya go? Naruto asked, oblivious to the fact that to get a week off would be heaven to Neji and Tenten, and that a week of non-stop training would be heaven. Ichiraku Ramen. Famed hangout of one Uzumaki Naruto. Quickest bowl of ramen ever eaten, 15 seconds. Held by Uzumaki, Hana, Shino, Hinata, and Kiba just stared. They were shocked, they were surprised, and they were suspicious. How did you beat Naruto-kun's record? Hinata asked. It had taken Naruto years to beat that record. He was so happy when he did. Hinata was there, so she knew. Well, she wasn't there, but she saw it. Yeah, brat. How? Kiba asked. Good job. First 2 bowls are on ol' Uncle Shino today, Shino said, pointing to himself. Oh, thank you, Uncle, Hana said as she started talking to Tuki. Ol' Uncle Shino? Kiba asked, laughing. He quickly stopped, however, with the glare cast in his direction by Shino. There you are. A voice yelled from behind the curtain. Daddy? Hana asked between mouthfuls of ramen. Yes, Naruto said, emerging through. He was covered in dirt, grime, and he had a few twigs in his hair. I've looked all over for you. I apologize for Hana, Naruto, however she was just hanging out with us, Shino said. Oh, I guess that's okay, Naruto said, smiling. You really should shower or something. Kiba pointed out. Quote. Yeah, I guess you're right, but I can't bathe Hana, Naruto said, looking down. Why not? Kiba inquired. Because she's a girl and I'm just her adoptive father. We aren't that close, Naruto stated. Wait a sec. Hinata, you're a girl, could you do it for me? Naruto begged. Sure, Naruto-kun. Hinata stammered out. Yay. Sleepover with tomato at Okama's house. Hana yelled. I don't know about you staying, but I just can't bathe you. I'll pick you up at 6, Naruto said as he walked out. Let's go, tomato. Bye, Uncle Shino. See ya, numbskull, Hana said, dragging Hinata out of the restaurant. The time was 12:00. Going to Okama's house, Hana was singing as she walked with Hinata towards the Hyuga home. Please Hana, see, could you be a bit quieter, people are starting to stare. Hinata said, blushing at the attention she was getting. It wasn't that much, 4 or 5 people at the most, but Hinata can't handle attention that well. Okay, Hana said as she started humming the Ode to Okama under her breath. Please Hana, stop, Hinata pleaded. She was really not used to the attention. Okay. Hey tomato, do you like daddy? Hana asked. Quote. Hinata was blushing a little. Hi. Then is that why do you sleep with him? Hana asked. I don't sleep with Naruto-kun. Hinata stuttered out, blushing greatly at the attention. Not to mention memories of her dreams. Yeah, you do, I was there. Hana stated defiantly. I just fainted, Hana. Hinata said a bit louder than necessary. Almost as if she was telling everyone in the immediate vicinity. When are we going to get there? Hana asked. She wanted to see Okama again. In a few minutes, Hana, please though, when we do get there, don't be rude. Hinata said without stuttering. She was actually quite proud of herself because of this fact. Quote. I have a question, Hana stated as she stopped walking. What is it? Hinata asked, hoping it wasn't about a certain blonde. Why were you pointing at daddy in the ramen shop a few days ago? Hana asked. Oh no, how do I answer this? Tell her I was going to kill them. That won't go well. Hinata thought before settling on. I don't know what you're talking about. Again with no stutter. But, Hana started. No idea at all, Hinata said. We're here. Hana yelled as loud as her little body could muster. Why yeah, we'll have to ask father if you can stay for a while. Hinata said, leading Hana into the house. Wow, it's so big compared to daddy's house. Hana muttered in awe. I know, Hinata said. The Hyuga house was exactly 20 times bigger than Naruto's apartment. Funny how spying on someone while they sleep for hours on end can give you a great reservoir of knowledge, huh? Hinata, who is this? Hiyashi asked. All I wanted to do today was sit around and watch kid shows on my TV, but instead I'll have to deal with something weird, no doubt. Hiyashi, though, he'd been watching kid shows recently to get his mind off the horrors of life, namely paperwork. This is Hana. Hinata stuttered. Hiyashi then did what he did to all people the first time he met them. He glared. He had nothing against the girl, just to see how she would react. Hana just looked right back at him. She's good, Hiyashi thought as he glared harder. Hana just looked right back. Man, she won't flinch. That's it. Hyuga death glare, Hiyashi thought as he sent said look at Hana. Now most people would faint or be frozen in fear at this look. 3 people actually died when they received it. Hana just looked right back at him. This unnerved Hiyashi a lot. He himself couldn't look in the mirror with this look on. Hana just looked right back. Without realizing it, Hiyashi backed up ever so slightly. You're funny, mister. Hana said, laughing. Demon. Hiyashi yelled, overreacting. He didn't really think this, but he got so little chance to yell nowadays, so he took this chance. Well, Hinata, he continued as if nothing had happened, make sure your friend here enjoys herself, after all we must show guests. He just kept going on and on about the main branch needing to be social. I'm Hiyashi, by the way. Okay, Hiyashi-sama, Hana said. She didn't know much about rich people, but she did know that they should be respected. At least during the first meeting. Hi, father. Hana, we really should be going. Hinata said, grabbing Hana's hand and dragging her into Hinata's room. Nice room. Hey, look, a picture of daddy, and another, Hana wasn't sure, but even with her small math skills she knew that having that many pictures of someone is a little weird. I'll go get you some clothes. Hinata said, blushing. She really didn't think that she overdid it. She only had around 50 pictures of Naruto, most of which were taken without his knowing. When Hinata left the room, Hana started exploring the room. In the closet there was an altar of sorts, with a lot of pictures of Naruto. On top of the dresser was a picture of Naruto's team with Sakura and Sasuke's eyes scratched out. Right next to this picture was a picture of Hinata's team. Nothing was done with this picture, however. Wow, this is kinda creepy. Hana said aloud. Please don't touch my stuff. I don't want to have to hurt you. Hinata said, blushing. Most of these pictures did have copies, but these ones were original. The only clothes I could find were shinobi ones from Hanabi. Oh, okay. Hinata continued, showing Hana a t-shirt with ninja pants. They were in okay condition but could have been better taken care of. Okay. Bath time. Hana yelled as she ran to follow Hinata into the bathroom. The bath itself passed without incident. It ended at 2 o'clock. Wow. It's good to be clean, Hana said, rubbing her light brown hair. They had to drain and refill the tub 3 times to get it this clean. Why yeah I'm sure it is. Hinata stuttered out. Can we go talk to Okama? Hana asked. Neji ni-san. Sure. Hinata stated. Yay. Hana yelled running out the door. Neji was having a great day today. He hadn't seen Guy or Lee for quite some time. The brat was missing, and 1010 was also nowhere to be found. Finally he could do all the stuff they wouldn't let him do. Now I can finally think. It's nearly impossible while getting weapons thrown at you or someone preaching about youth. I'm already youthful enough, thank you, now goodbye. Neji thought as he relaxed on his bed. The only thing was that he had a bad feeling, almost as if the perfect day was about to be ruined. Open up, Okama. A voice yelled outside Neji's door. No, no, I got rid of you. Naruto found you, you should be with him, Neji said, backing away from the door. He couldn't imagine how this had possibly happened. Leave me alone. Now, Neji said. If you paid attention even a little you could hear fear in his voice. Neji ni-san, open the door please, Neji heard Hinata say. Quote. I'll be right there. Neji mumbled. He really hated the main branch now. Hello Okama, Hana said calmly. Oh, you're calm, I suppose if you want you could both come in then. Did your hair change color? Neji asked. He usually hated being wrong about people, but this is one instance where he didn't mind in the least. Yay! Hana yelled, running in and started jumping on Neji's well-made bed. I stand corrected, Neji said. It looked as though he could cry. The time was 5 o'clock. Hey, how do you see if you have no pupils? Hana asked after she was done writing Okama over everything Neji owned, and quite a few things he didn't own. It's the Byakugan and it is a Hyuga bloodline secret. Neji explained. The time was 6 o'clock. See, come on Hana, we need to get you downstairs for Naruto-kun to pick you up, Hinata said. Okay. Bye Okama, Hana said, walking out with Hinata. She really isn't that bad, Neji said. She's worse. Downstairs Hinata was awaiting Naruto's arrival with Hana. Can I come over again? If Naruto-kun allows it, Hinata said quickly. They then heard a knock on the front door. Daddy, Hana yelled, running to open the door. Hey Hana, Naruto said as he walked in. Thanks for letting her come over, Hinata. Anything for you Naruto-kun, Hinata thought. No problem Naruto-kun. Hinata said, blushing. Hey, you want to come eat lunch with Hana and me tomorrow? Naruto asked. After all, Hana seemed somewhat fond of Hinata. Yeah, do it, Hana said loudly. Just you and Hana? Hinata asked, blushing furiously. Yeah, Naruto proclaimed. Sure, I'll meet you at Ichiraku's then. Hinata said, smiling a little and blushing a lot. It's a date then, Naruto said, leading Hana out of the house. He meant this in a casual way, of course. Date, Hinata said loudly. She was joyful beyond joy. Then she fainted. The time was 6:04. Hinata. A voice was saying. Wake up Hinata. Hinata moaned. She'd just had the greatest dream. In it Naruto had asked her on a date and they had a wonderful ending with, well, you can probably guess what it was. Hinata. It was Neji. Hinata, wake up now. Neji ni-san. Hinata asked, getting up. If you plan on going on your date, you'd better sleep in a bed, not the floor. Neji said calmly. He overheard it while going to get food. The kitchen was by the front door. Hi Neji ni-san, I should go get ready for bed, thank you, Hinata said as she went to admire her altar for an hour then go to bed. For some reason I think that I should get ready to start babysitting. Neji said. He shuddered before going to do Neji stuff. The next day Naruto was walking around with Hana trying to find her a babysitter for when Naruto was on missions. Hana kept saying, tomato, would be perfect, but Naruto thought she should at least meet the others. On the way to Ichiraku Ramen for the lunch date they ran into Choji. Hey Naruto, Choji said. He was eating a bag of normal chips. Not wavy, not crispy, not barbecue, just normal chips. No one ever eats those anymore for some reason. Hey mister, you look F. Naruto knew what was going to happen before it happened. He moved to get Hana out of the way before she incurred the wrath of chubby people. Sadly he tripped in his haste to save Hana. Fantastic, Hana yelled. You're so big, you must be really strong. Well, yes, I guess I am. Choji said, taking an immediate liking to the girl. He had a feeling they'd get along just fine. Want some chips? Nah, thanks though, big guy, but I gotta go eat with tomato. Hana said. Who? Choji asked. Me and daddy are going to eat with a girl named Hinata. I think she's more like a tomato though. Hana said as if it were obvious. Oh, gotta date Naruto. Well, practice safe, off laughing at his own little joke. Hinata would never consent to that, he thought, leaving. He was wrong, however, but nobody realized that for a few years. Hey, look, there's Hinata. Naruto said, pointing said girl out. Hinata visibly blushed when she saw Naruto. Hello Naruto-kun. Hinata said. She was dressed in her usual attire, but something was different about her. Naruto couldn't place it. She just looked brighter today, happier for lack of better word. Hey tomato. Hana said, running up to hug Hinata's legs as that was all she could reach. Alright Hana, you need to get off Hinata. Naruto said, chuckling lightly. He was amazed at the fact that a girl who usually blended in with her surroundings would be so happy to eat with a little girl. Swing and a miss, Kit. Kyuubi said, noticing this thought process going on. He knew a lot of things that Naruto had missed. He wasn't a love guru by a long shot, but even he noticed Hinata's liking of the young blonde. Really though, I shouldn't be one to judge. After all, I didn't realize this until a day ago, Kyuubi thought. He really did think he deserved credit though. After all, he wasn't human and therefore not familiar with human emotions. What do you mean, Baka Fox? Naruto said to Kyuubi. He couldn't shake the feeling that Kyuubi knew something that Naruto should know. Who else would Hinata be happy to see? Now, kid, if I told you that I wouldn't be able to watch you try to figure it out. Kyuubi said. After all, I do so enjoy your handicap in this situation. Naruto-kun. A-, are you okay? Hinata asked the blonde, snapping him out of this mental battle. She looked genuinely worried about him. Being Naruto, however, he didn't think much of it at the time, or later on for that matter. Yeah, now, let's eat, he exclaimed loudly, running into the restaurant. Throwing back the curtains, or whatever they're called, he entered the restaurant followed by Hinata and Hana. They sat down and ordered their ramen. Hey, Daddy, do you eat tomato? Hana asked in a voice that suggested that she was thinking hard about something, as hard, anyway, as a 7-year-old could think about something as complex as the something was. Yeah, why wouldn't I like her? Said person responded in a voice that clearly he meant, for those of you who don't know, that Hinata was his friend, and if it all came down to it, he would give his life for hers, as he would all his friends and newly acquired daughter. Hinata blushed a nice shade of pale red, or possibly a dark pink. She started poking her index fingers together in a nervous manner. She knew that he meant he liked her as a friend and no more, yet, she added mentally. Hana seemed to reach a decision about whatever she was thinking about as the slightly steaming bowls of ramen arrived, while Hana and Naruto tore through them, Hana being slightly faster, though Naruto was barely behind at all. Hinata slowly ate hers, wanting the date even as friendly as theirs was, to last as long as possible. They heard the faint flap of cloth being moved out of the way in a slight hurry. They turned and saw Shino, who looked to be in a good mood. Hello, Uncle Shino, Hana said loudly between mouthfuls of ramen. She looked at him as he sat down in the seat next to her. He reached into his pocket and looked slightly apprehensive about the object. What's that, Uncle Shino? He opened his hands to reveal sunglasses, the kind people in my clan wear. They are a symbol of acceptance in my clan. The reason most of us wear it is to signify that we are accepted in the clan. I convinced my father to allow me to present it to you, if you want it, of course. Shino looked slightly sadder at this part. He then continued, if you do accept it, however, you'll be allowed into the Aburame clan house at any time, and you'll also be given a vote in Aburame matters, when you're old enough, and this would essentially make you an Aburame in all but blood. But if you don't want it, I understand. Shino stopped and waited for an answer. He looked ready for rejection and also eager, slightly like a little kid hoping that, inside the present they had gotten was the new toy they wanted. Would that mean I would get to see you more often? Hana asked in a quiet voice. Yes, me and my clan. Shino said, sounding slightly optimistic. Then, all I can say is, yes. She yelled with so much enthusiasm that even Naruto thought it was a bit excessive. Then I want you to keep these. Shino said, handing the glasses to Hana. She tried to put them on like Uncle Shino, but slipped off and instead hung onto her chin. Shino chuckled and put them on her forehead like one would put the Konoha headband on. It stayed almost perfectly. I'll see if I can't get a slightly smaller pair. Shino said and then stood up to leave, then almost as if he had just noticed Hinata and Naruto in the booth, sat back down and said to Naruto, she is allowed to have these, right? I don't see why not, but isn't it a bit soon to allow her into the clan? Naruto asked. He did think that after knowing each other for only a few short days, that allowing a membership to a very reclusive clan was a bit premature. Not at all. She isn't afraid of us. That's good enough, Shino said as if he thought the question was a waste of his time. He stood up again and then said, Hana, would you like to meet a few other Abarames? Yeah, if it's okay with Daddy. Hana said, looking at Naruto with puppy dog eyes. Sure, have fun, Hana. Naruto said, then stopped and looked at Hinata. Actually, you're our guest, Hinata. Is it okay with you if she goes? Hinata blushed at being brought into a decision like this. Sure. She stuttered out. This was exactly the kind of thing she wanted to happen. Getting Hana out of the way ensured that she would spend some alone time with Naruto, and making Shino happy was just an added bonus. Alright, Hana, go along then. Naruto said as though he was talking about an incident that happened many years ago. Yay! Let's go, Uncle Shino. She yelled as she ran out of Ichiraku Ramen. Naruto, I'll bring her back in an hour about. Shino asked in a tone that said this was clearly not a question. Okay. Naruto shrugged. He liked Hana, but a few minutes without someone with a loud voice yelling in your ear would be a welcome change. Goodbye, Shino said, following Hana. Naruto-kun, how is Hana doing? Hinata said, grabbing onto a subject that wouldn't sound weird to talk about. She's fine, though I would like a day to myself without her yelling in my ear, but hey, who said being a parent was easy? He said, laughing slightly. Why you see could let her stay with me and Neji ni-san for a day. Hinata suggested, getting redder and redder at every word. Thanks, I just might take you up on that offer, another day though. Naruto said, then noticing that Hinata was really red asked, you okay? You look like you have a fever. With the last word he put his hand on her forehead to check for said affliction. The result was, nothing. I guess you're okay if. Never mind, he started as she fell over onto him. Naruto, you had better get her home soon anyway, you've been here for 2 hours. Tyuki said. He hadn't said anything before this because he got so lonely with only his daughter around, but these three were like free cable, except more entertaining. It's that late already. Oh well, better take her home. Naruto said, picking her up bridal style. Hinata had a great feeling. Almost like she was being carried, almost as if Naruto-kun were doing it, almost as it. She opened her eyes to see what was happening, she then immediately closed them. Naruto was carrying her. She was so happy she almost fainted, but held on to consciousness in order to enjoy the feeling of his arms supporting her. It was like a dream come true. I can't believe my luck, a date and now he's carrying me. This day couldn't get any better. Naruto for his part was being well behaved about this. Not copping a feel on the unconscious girl was quite an accomplishment for a 15-year-old. It's not that he didn't want to. Heck, he knew that even the fox was encouraging the action, but Naruto knew the consequences of perverted behavior. The arrow Senin Jiraiya was more than a perfect example of this point. He actually kind of liked how he felt when carrying her. He was snapped off from this train of thought when a kunai almost pierced through his foot. What the hell? He yelled, almost dropping Hinata. Naruto, is it just you? A scared voice said from a nearby tree. Yeah, and Hinata. Naruto said, getting ready to run if need be. Oh, what a relief. Neji said, getting down from the tree. He wasn't dressed in his usual attire. He had camouflage war paint all over his face as well as a black headband on to keep his hair out of his face. His clothes were more of a jumpsuit, it was a dark green color, almost as if he'd been planning an ambush. Why? Naruto said, setting Hinata down, Said girl looked disappointed, but neither male noticed. Because I thought that demon was with you. Oh well, no harm done, I'll take my cousin back to the house then. Neji said, looking as if the simple fact that he hadn't seen Hana today was enough to get rid of the caged bird seal. En no Neji ni san, I'll walk, Hinata said, getting up. Thank you for the wonderful day, Naruto-kun. And with that both Hyugas walked away. The Hyuga, surely are, the weirdest people ever. Honestly, a little girl changes them from quite to insane in a heartbeat. Naruto said as he went to his apartment to await the arrival of Hana. XX. As soon as they had left the restaurant, Shino, who was extremely happy that there was at least one person in the world who wouldn't shun Aburame clan members, grabbed Hana, who was talking about all the cool stuff that had happened to her since she last saw her Uncle Shino, and led her to a restaurant. Anyone who thought that Aburame clan members didn't enjoy a good joke every now and then, or that said clan members didn't prank people, had not hung around in Aburame. In truth, the clan enjoyed jokes more so than any other person in the world almost, because it distracted them from the fact that they were social outcasts. These jokes were far and in between, but they did happen. This is one of those times. Where are we going, Uncle Shino? Hana asked, wondering why Shino was leading her into a restaurant. To see a friend of mine, Shino responded. He was giddy with excitement. After all, who wouldn't enjoy a good joke? Yay! Hana shouted. If the two people in the booth 4 rows from them knew what was coming, at least one of them would have made a break for freedom. Hello, Shikamaru, Shino said, sitting down beside the Chunin with pineapple hair. The genius was slightly shocked that Shino would sit down with him and his client, but it wasn't as astounding as what sat down beside his client. Who's the girl? Shikamaru nearly mumbled. Surely she couldn't be too much trouble. After all, she was sitting next to Tamari, who was lecturing him on his laziness, so nothing could make it worse, right? Yeah, she has glasses like you. Is she an Aburame? Tamari asked, looking at the girl. Despite how she acted around everyone, she really did care for children and other girly things, however, due to who her father and brother were, plus her mom died, so she had to be tough. To review this mathematically provable equation, fourth case cage x Gara plus dead mom equals mean Tamari. No, Uncle Shino is just going to show me the Aburame clan house. I'm an Aburame in all but blood though. Hana piped up. So lady, is Smokestack your husband? Shikamaru looked down at the cigarette he held in his mouth. Surely he didn't smoke that much. He smoked to honor Asuma's death. He put it out. I'm not a smokestack, he said calmly. And he isn't my husband, boyfriend, or anything else of that nature. Tamari said. Sure, she had thought of him like that one time, but hey, it was hormones, and only that. Is that a fan? Shino asked. Calculating by nature, Aburames knew their opponent's weakness before they went into any battle. Yes, you know that already, right? Tamari said. She was pretty sure that he knew that. Okay, Fanny, Hana said. She didn't understand what happened next, but she was pretty sure that this lady was evil, with which Shikamaru would agree completely. What happened was, Shino smirked as his plan came into full effect. Shikamaru looked for an exit and almost ran for it. Temari's reaction, however, was not foreseen by quite a few people. Please, dear, don't call me that. Okay, she said in a deathly quiet voice. Okay, Hana said. What do I call you? Call me Tamari. Call him, she said, voice back to normal, motioning towards Shikamaru, sloth. Okay. Don't call me sloth, Shikamaru said. He was really starting to get irritated with this girl. Smokestack. No. Pineapple. No. Lazy. No, he said. Some anger had seeped into his voice. Dum-dum. No. Nerdy. No, damn it, he said, getting up and storming off. Tamari stood up. Is it just me, or is he cute when he's angry? She then ran off to catch up to Shikamaru. Well, Hana, Shino said, better get out of here before the owner comes to collect the money. He noticed that neither Shikamaru or Tamari had paid the bill. Okay, Uncle Shino, Hana said, running out of the establishment. Honestly, the energy the 7-year-old had was inexplicable at times. They walked through the streets of Konoha towards the Aburame clan house. The little detour with the Nara had taken more time than they really had to waste. Walking up to a window, Shino saw something that nearly scarred him. Inside was his dad. Nothing wrong with that, just a dad. Shino wished this was it, but there was more. His dad was dressed up like Michael Jackson for the Beat It video, and was actually doing the dance with bug clones. Hana just walked in before knocking. The Aburame had an honored tradition of knocking before entering a room. Coincidentally, this rule came out just about the time that Shibi, Shino's dad, became clan head. Hi. Shibi stopped immediately and dispersed the clones. Hello, you must be Hana that my son told me about. Yeah, hey mister, that dance you were doing was cool. Hana said. Shibi allowed a small smile to appear on his face. 15 minutes later, Hana, Shibi, and a bunch of Shibi clones were dancing to Thriller while Shino watched horrified. Even he wouldn't have dared think that this would have happened. As the music stopped, Shibi stopped and looked at Hana. If only you were a little older, I'd have my son date you. He said quietly. Dad, she's 7, Shino said, alarmed. I said if she were older. Shibi defended himself. You're funny, Buggy. Hana yelled loudly. Thank you, little girl. Shino, does she have to go home soon? Shibi said in a tone close to that of a little kid asking if they had to stop playing with their friends and go to do something boring. Yes, Dad, in about 25 minutes to be precise. Shino said. He hadn't thought that his dad of all people would like Hana. Yeah, I gotta go home with Daddy. Hana said. 25 minutes? Shibi asked Shino. Yes. Enough time to learn bad then. Shibi said as he ran to go get a different CD. 25 minutes later. Shino was amazed. The last performance was spectacular. Hana had learned the dance extremely fast. Shino was sad that it had to end. Hana, we really should be getting you back home to your father. Already. Came from both Shibi and Hana. Shibi left towards the door, and before he left the room he turned back and said, this never happened. Come back anytime. Then he left. Hana and Shino walked through the darkening streets of Konoha. The walk to the Aburame house was long for civilians, of which Hana was. They spent this time asking questions about each other. Shino gave out very little of his past, Hana gave out even less. They saw Naruto waiting near Ichiraku. Daddy. Hana yelled and ran up to hug him. Did you have fun? Naruto asked. Hana gave a vague answer about her stay as they walked home. Bye, Uncle Shino. Farewell. Shino said. He was going home to shower. Then when he was sure everyone was asleep, he too would practice his Michael Jackson dance. Uzumaki. Naruto's dream. Standing in a circular office overlooking Konohagakure, the Hokage looked out the window. It had taken a while to get to this position. No one really understood the motives behind it. However, after the battle with the ivory-haired beast, no one had even sought to question the motives. After all, if one vanquished such a beast, no one would question you for quite some time. Even if he suggested that they destroy Hokage Mountain because he didn't like the color, he could fully expect to be obeyed. He grinned as he spotted one of his favorite sites in the village, Ichiraku Ramen. He had eaten here many times before, so many no one even had a clue. He decided to take a break from doing paperwork. Instead, he was going to work on his record. A plaque was mounted in the restaurant. It read, most bowls eaten, 1405 Uzumaki, Naruto fastest bowl of ramen, 20 seconds Uzumaki, Naruto. As it should be, Naruto thought. Sitting down, he ordered a bowl. Daddy. What the? Naruto thought. He didn't have children. A giant shadow formed in front of his eyes. No longer was he in Ichiraku, he was now in an arena. What the? He barely had time to say before Hyuga, Hinata appeared before him. Hello, Naruto-kun, she said. Oh, thank goodness. Hinata, what's going on? Naruto asked desperately. Nothing you won't like, Hokage-sama, she said, stressing the last two words as she started unzipping her jacket. What the? Naruto said as the scenery again changed. Sitting in a corner of a colorless room was Deidara. Oh, finally you're here, he said. Yes, he's a guy. Do I know you? Naruto asked, happy for some peace. Not really, Tried to kill each other though, Deidara said as if he were talking about the weather. So, why are you here? Naruto asked. Fox, called me here for some reason. Deidara said in his small talk voice. Oh, What's it like being dead? Naruto asked. No clue. If there is a deity, they wiped my memory. If not, then I'm just a figure of your imagination. Deidara said, looking as if he had gotten to a point. Now my explosion, was it wonderful? He asked, his eyes lighting up. I bet it was fantastic. A real blast, really big. Probably didn't get your teacher though. No, he's too good for that, I bet. How was it? Kakashi sensei confined it to another dimension. Naruto said, recounting what he remembered. Quote. Deidara seemed to shrink. But, even then it was big. A real blast, Naruto said quickly. Alright. Deidara shouted, seeming to grow in stature. So, why are you here? Naruto asked. Quote. Like I know. Deidara said, seeming to think back on his explosion and how wonderful it must have been. Just tell me. Naruto exclaimed angrily. He was tired of beating around the bush. Talk to the hand. Deidara said, holding up his right hand. Hi, my name's. Oh, I'm so nervous around strangers. The hand said. How can you talk? Naruto asked, astonished. It's a dream. Deidara said. He smiled a little. Really? Pretty much. Deidara replied, reaching into his cloak. He pulled out a little statue made of clay. The statue was a miniature Hana. Don't let it go to waste. He continued as he threw it to Naruto. Thanks. Naruto mumbled. It really did look just like Hana, except it was all the same color. Don't worry about it. Making it was he paused, smiling, load of fun. Ha ha ha, you thought it was going to explode. Hehehe. Naruto laughed sarcastically. He really did think it would have exploded. So, wanna play kickball? Deidara asked. Why? I'm bored. Been dead a while. Deidara said, shrugging. We don't have a ball or goals though. Naruto said. It's a dream. Just dream up your players and I'll tell you mine. Then you dream them up. Deidara stated. Then. Naruto said. He could tell this would be awkward. Hyuga, Hanabi's dream. Young Hyuga Hanabi never wanted much in life. No, she preferred the land of dreams, where no one would ever mock you for not being strong. Nobody ever feared you for being a Hyuga. Here she could be herself and not worry about being mocked, feared, hated, or liked. She dreamt of things no one else did. While others would dream of getting married to a prince or something of that sort, Hanabi dreamed of having a normal life. She never did care much about meetings or things of that nature. Being powerful was okay, but what Hanabi really wanted more than anything was to have a normal friend. She didn't want a perfect friend, she wanted a friend that she could talk to, one that would disappoint her when she gave them a secret. Many nights while most people dreamed of a fantasy world, Hyuga Hanabi dreamed of a normal one. Hanabi awoke in her apartment with a start. She opened her teal eyes to another day with a headache. I thought I got rid of that a week ago, she thought as she walked towards her shower. After a brief washing, she got dressed in plain clothes. Wonder if he's gonna come into work again today, Hanabi said aloud, a slight blush on her cheeks. She worked in a pet store. She earned a average wage and got along with a few of her coworkers. The others couldn't stand her. Hanabi worked the counter all day long. Hey Hanabi, are you available Friday? Konohamaru asked. He was her only pursuer. Every day he'd ask for a date, and every day she'd turn him down. No Konohamaru-san, Hanabi said, annoyed. Still waiting for dog breath to come in. Konohamaru said, his voice laced with acid. Don't call Kiba-kun that. Hanabi said, blushing slightly. He's only come in twice, he doesn't even know you. Konohamaru said angrily. Sick him, Hanabi said lightly. She had trained all the dogs in the place to attack Konohamaru when she said this. Damn it, Konohamaru yelled as he ran from the dogs of the store. None of them were big enough to really hurt him. But it was still unpleasant to get bitten. That'll learn him, Hanabi said as a bell rang signaling that customer had entered the shop. Hey, do you have dog food? A voice said. Of course sir, we have. Hanabi trailed off, seeing it was her crush. In real life Hanabi had talked to him once or twice, and unlike her sister, Hanabi didn't take pictures. No, that's what video cameras are for. Oh hey, it's you, Kiba said, sounding surprised. You were the clerk last time I came in, right? Yes, sir. Hanabi said, blushing. So you got dog food right? Kiba said in a tone that clearly stated that he had forgotten about his earlier question. Yes, sir, it's over there. She stated, pointing to the dog aisle where Konohamaru was defending himself within a fort of dog food bags. Thanks, he said, waving over his shoulder as he took a chunk of Konohamaru's fort with him. Hanabi just stared after him. She dreams of an average life with average problems. In the real world, Hanabi smiled slightly at her failure, for though it was a failure, no one yelled at her for messing up. Hyuga, Hiyashi's dream. It was a rainy day at the funeral. All the Hyugas had gathered for his wife's passing party, as she had put it in her final hour. Hyuga Hiyashi cried the whole time, no one noticed through the rain. He wasn't a cold-hearted jerk as many believed. He had a childish side and his wife had accepted him for it. He had 2 daughters now. He really did want them to have the best life they could have. His wife had died during childbirth because of an injury received during her last mission. If only she were a little stronger, she would have made it, he thought sadly. He couldn't believe it. She was gone. He had named her daughter after her. Hyuga, Hanabi was now in 2 placed. One in the grave and one in my arms. He thought. She wouldn't be out here for long. The funeral would last only another half hour at the most. Look well, Hanabi. This will be the last time you see her, he said to his daughter between sobs. No one heard them. The rain was hard, making a loud pitter-patter noise. His other daughter, Hinata, was staring at the casket with tears in her eyes. I'll probably lose her next, or my brother's kid, or Hanabi, he thought, picturing them each being killed at the hands of a shadowy ninja. No, I won't allow it, he thought with determination as he pictured these deaths. They'll get stronger. Even if it makes them hate me, they'll be strong enough to live. He then turned to little Hinata and for the first time in his life yelled at her, stop crying. It's weakness to cry, he said through his own tears. Little Hinata just cried harder, but. She began but never finished. No crying, he yelled. He could barely stomach it, he didn't want to have to do it. It's for her own good, and from that day on he did everything for his family's own good. Hyuga, Hinata's dream. Hyuga Hinata was shy, dreadfully so. She has a crush on Uzumaki, Naruto, who is the opposite of her in many respects. She strives to be like him. Despite her shyness, she was also, for lack of better words, insane. Childhood crush turned to blind devotion through the years. She loved Naruto for who he was and despised anyone who hurt him until they atoned for their sins. Like most teenagers, she thought of murdering someone once or twice, or in this case several thousand. Also, like most teenagers, these were just fantasy speculations. Shy, meek Hyuga Hinata dreamed of 2 things: her precious, Naruto-kun, and harming those who had harmed him. A dungeon is a dark, dank, and scary place. With many implements of torture, they were often the last thing people saw before the gallows. Screams punctured the air as lava was poured on a group of chunin. Every 5 feet was a picture of a blonde-headed kid with whisker-like marks on his face. The cacophony of sound was like music to Hinata's ears. Dismembered arms on a rack, bodies impaled on spikes, and most importantly a mural of the blonde god she worshipped. Sure, saving his gum was a bit excessive, but that's the closest she had come to kissing him. Hinata left the maiming and torture to Cage Bunshin's shadow clones. Very few had left this dungeon. Among them were Hyuga, Neji, Hitaki, Kakashi, Rock Lee, and Haruno Sakura. The last one was on the verge of re-entering the dungeon, however. How Hinata knew of Kakashi's and Lee's fight with Naruto is a mystery to many. However, Hinata had her sources. Exiting this area, she walked into a hall filled to the brim with pictures of Naruto. Hinata smiled as the scenery changed. This too was a room she frequented in her dreams. A slightly different kind of torture occurred here, pleasurable for her and to some extent a captive. Opening a heavy wooden door, a bundle covered in ropes with a gag in his mouth started screaming through the cloth in hopes someone would hear him. Sorry, Naruto-kun, no one here to interrupt us tonight, she said, smiling as she removed the gag. The instant it was removed, he was yelling. What the hell? Every night? What in the? He started only to be cut off by her kissing him hard. Now Naruto-kun, is that any way to speak to me? She said in a voice somewhere between sadistic and seductive. Help! He yelled as loud as he could in vain. In the real world, one Hyuga, Hinata was smiling as she blushed. For at least on one front she could be like her, Naruto-kun. Hyuga, Neji's dream. Neji walked through a toy store. He didn't know why he did this every day, but he did. He would pick up something and mess with it for a while before moving on to the next thing that caught his interest. Being raised in such a strict environment, he never did have much time for play. He was in all reality afraid of it. He was not sure how to handle being a child. He did have a couple of favorites in his dreams. The teddy bear that he often dressed up as a ninja was just like the one he had when he was little. He also favored playing with a soundboard designed to teach kids the sound that animals make. His favorite sound by far was that the duck says, quack. Here he could be as childish as he wanted and no one would do anything. He did have a playmate every once in a while in his dream land. He and Naruto played football a bit once, another time he lost horribly to Shikamaru in checkers, and his favorite by far had occurred a few days ago in fact. He was reliving that dream again tonight. More tea, Mr. Teddykins? Neji asked his teddy bear as he poured tea into a cup on the floor. Mrs. Fluffernutters wants some too. Hana yelled, pointing at a female doll the size of Hoshigaki, Kisame. But of course, Neji said, walking over while adjusting his bonnet. In the real world, Hyuga Neji sighed as his dreams became ever more childish before dissolving into nothing but sight and colors. Uzumaki, Hana's dream. Hana ran towards her house. It was a slightly breezy summer day. Hana was just 5 years old at the time. She lived alone with her mother, for her father had fled the village a year after she was born, leaving behind only a note which Hana now kept on her person at all times. She ran in and shouted, "Mama, I found a pretty flower." She paused for a response. When none came, she went into the kitchen to see if she was there. Blood was everywhere on the counter, the table, the butcher knife still stuck in the bleeding back of a headless corpse. Hana screamed as it all went blank. Ah! Hana screamed as she awoke. She was crying hard. She went into Naruto's room a short way away and crawled in bed with him, hugging him as if he could drive away the dreams. Within minutes she was asleep again. This time she was dreaming of pleasant things like her daddy and tomato. She really was happy now, but every now and then she still thought of her mother's headless corpse. Vote yes on issue 203. A voice yelled outside of Naruto's apartment window. It sounded oddly muffled. Naruto groggily awoke. Little light shone from outside. In the darkness Naruto could barely make out Hana's form laying next to him, gently sleeping. Why is someone yelling this early? Naruto said as he got up to tell the one who was yelling to kindly put a sock in it. He turned the knob and applied a bit of pressure. The door didn't budge. Did someone lock me in again? Naruto thought. This had happened before once or twice. Naruto put a bit more pressure on the door with no more response than the first time. Screw this, Naruto thought as he pushed with all his might against the door. Vote yes on issue 203. The voice yelled as the door sped open. Ah! Naruto yelled, shielding his eyes from the bright sun falling down in the process. How can it be this late and still be dark inside? Naruto thought, rolling on the ground in pain. Naruto. The voice said as a shadow fell on Naruto, providing enough shade for Naruto to open his eyes. Lee. Naruto nearly shouted as he saw Lee, in all of his youthful glory. As his eyes adjusted, Naruto noticed that everywhere there was at least one poster saying, "Vote yes on issue 203 inches." Are you okay? Lee asked, helping Naruto to his feet. Yes, Lee, what are you doing? Naruto inquired the jumpsuit-wearing youth enthusiast. I'm raising awareness of issue 203, it's going to be voted on today by the council. Lee said with his eyes closed. Oh, what is issue 203? Naruto continued. Issue 203 is my challenge towards Tsunade's proclamation that I have to take training easily. I know when I take things too far. Lee said with hate in his voice at the word, easily. Isn't having so many posters on my doors and windows that I think it's midnight a bit, too far? Naruto asked, gesturing to his door, which was only visible because of the many tears in the posters of that area. Heretic. Lee yelled and kicked Naruto in the shin as he ran off, no doubt to put up more posters. Naruto fell down due to the force of the kick. Again I say a bit much. He said through pain. Daddy. A drowsy voice came from nearby. Huh. Naruto grunted, looking towards the noise. When he saw Hana rubbing sleep out of her eyes with the back of her hand while clutching his nightcap to her chest, he got up quickly. What are you doing? She asked, handing him the cap. Well, Hana, Daddy just had to take care of something. Hana, how old are you? Naruto asked. I'm 7. Why, Daddy? Hana asked. You're old enough to enroll in the academy. He said thoughtfully, then added, do you want to be a shinobi, Hana? Will I be able to see Tomato and Okama more? Hana asked. Yeah, I suppose. You might even be assigned into one of their squads when you're old enough. Also, Shino is a ninja. Naruto said as soon as Uncle Shino came up, though Hana was already running to get dressed. Iruka was having a great day. Already 9 and no one was late or absent. The whole school has been great. Today just can't get any better. He said aloud. Iruka-sensei. A voice yelled from outside his door. Company. Come in. Iruka had barely started when the door was opened. Naruto. What are you doing here? Come back to learn how to knock politely. Iruka joked. He was always happy to see Naruto now that he had so many missions. They barely saw each other anymore. Is this him? A little girl who Iruka had never seen before asked. Yeah, this Hana is Yumino Iruka-sensei. If you're accepted, he'll probably teach you everything you need to know. Naruto said wisely. A new student. Why would Naruto bring in a new student unless? Iruka started doing calculations in his head. He arrived at a figure that he didn't like. By the looks of it, this girl had to be 7, 6 if you pushed it. Grabbing a bat he kept for bad students, Iruka bopped Naruto on the head. You're too young to have now. So what the hell gave you the idea that it was okay back then? Iruka yelled, hitting Naruto with each word. Iruka-sensei, she's adopted. Naruto yelled through the pain, several lumps already forming. Oh, well then what can I do for you? Iruka asked, sitting back down. He seems a bit batty, Hana thought to herself. Well, I want to fill out the forms to get Hana into school. Naruto stated. Very well, here they are. Iruka said, dropping a stack of papers as tall as Hana on top of his desk. He flipped a pen at Naruto and signaled for him to start signing. Are these it? Naruto asked, fearing how much his hand would hurt when he finished. Of course not. Iruka laughed. These are the forms to get the student form. Yep, just sign these and then sign one more and you're done. Okay then. Naruto sighed as he approached his worst enemy yet. So what will I do here? Hana asked in a meek voice. She really didn't want to get the bat. Iruka turned towards her. Well, nothing too difficult. We'll teach you jutsu, chakra manipulation, and some minor taijutsu skills. He said, smiling. What's a jutsu? What's chakra? What's taijutsu? What does nothing mean? What's you mother's maiden name? Can I call you Batty? These and more questions spouted from Hana's mouth, and each one was even farther away from the original topic. However, Iruka answered each and every one. Iruka-sensei, when you say mother's maiden name, is it mine or hers? 'Cause I don't know either of them. Naruto yelled from his paperwork. Just put unknown. Iruka yelled back as he went back to answering Hana's questions. 20 minutes later. Done, Iruka-sensei. Wonderful. Just sign this. Iruka said, showing Naruto a small slip of paper saying, I give permission to enroll in Konoha's school, signed _. A few marks of a pen later. Thanks, Iruka-sensei. Naruto said, taking Hana to go get her school supplies. Remember, she starts Monday. That's the day after tomorrow. Iruka said, waving them off. In the Hyuga manor at that moment. Neji was in his room looking over his planning board. He made plans early and often and readjusted them to make sure they worked to the peak of perfection. True that most of them were just jokes, some of them had actually come to fruition. Neji-ni-san, what are you doing? Hinata asked as she walked into her cousin's room. Hinata-chan, just the person I wanted to see. Neji said as he strode over to her and pushed her into the room. What's on the B board? Hinata stuttered as she saw the board. Delighted, you asked. You see, cousin, I have plans for this world. If any of those are to come to fruition, I need a team that can help me. The plan you see here involves you to a great extent. I have signed up for a genin tutoring program in which I will train gifted or late starting shinobi. I need you to convince Naruto to allow Hana to be on my team. Neji said calmly. But why? Hinata asked. She thought that Neji hated Hana. Because in order to diffuse her incessant questions and energy, she needs to be around students of a colder nature. Naruto, however, won't trust me enough to get his daughter into this program, which is again where you come in. Alone? Hinata inquired in a small voice. Of course not, Hinata-chan. This plan has been in motion since this morning. There were 2 teams in on it really. Team 1 consisted of Lee, Guy, Iruka, and Weird Al Yankovic, a visiting musician. Team 2 will consist of you, me, and unknowingly Naruto. Team 1 has done their job. Lee was under the impression that a issue on his training was on the agenda of the council and that they were going vote on it. He, being Lee, put up thousands upon thousands of posters prompting citizens to vote no on it. This also prompted Naruto to come outside. Guy was convinced that Naruto was in trouble, so he chased down Lee and made him take down all the posters. This left me open to sneak Mr. L into Tsunade's office in order to perform for her. This distracted her enough so that she hasn't noticed that Hana's recommendation has been placed into her paperwork. Now this is where Team 2 comes in. If you are able to convince Naruto that Hana should be put with me, then. Then what? Hinata asked. She really wanted to know if this would hurt Naruto. I'll tell you when you complete your assignment, Neji said as he ushered her out of the room. 3 knocks sounded at the door, causing Naruto to wake from his dream. As he got up to answer the door, he heard voices from the outside. But the first voice whined, but was interrupted by the second voice. No, you must apologize, the second voice nearly bellowed. But she'll interrupt training. The first voice whined again. You should have thought about that before you kicked him. Naruto had a pretty good idea who it was and what they wanted. I don't want to, but if I don't, they'll probably bust down the door, he thought as he opened the door. Naruto, how's life treating you? Youthfully, I should hope, Guy said, striking a pose. He then shot Lee, who stood beside him looking ashamed. Sorry about kicking you yesterday, Naruto. Lee mumbled quietly. It's okay, Lee. Hurt like a. Naruto started but was interrupted. No, Guy yelled. It is not okay. Youth will not allow it. Lee must make it up to you. And just how will he do this? Naruto asked, yawning. By allowing Hana to train with us, of course. She is entering the academy, correct? Guy paused for only a second before continuing. So if she trains with taijutsu specialists such as my team, she will catch up and, dare I say it, surpass the rest of her class. Guy said. Well, I suppose. She is probably behind on her taijutsu after all. So I'll get today off then. Naruto paused, and when Guy nodded, okay, then just make sure she's back before 7, okay? Deal. Don't worry, she'll love it. Guy chuckled. Yes, Naruto, she will be back at 7 sharp, if not I'll do 1,000 push-ups. Lee proclaimed, coming back to life. He was never one to back down from a challenge. Excellent idea, Lee. I will, however, up the stakes. If she's not back by 7 sharp, I'll do 2,000 push-ups. Guy shouted loudly. This continued while Naruto went to wake Hana up and get her ready for her first day of training. Hey, Daddy, who are these 2? Hana shouted when she saw Guy and Lee yelling about something called a push-up. I'm Guy, I'll be your sensei for the day. This is Lee, Guy said, pointing to Lee, and he's doing this for punishment. Okay, Midori-sensei, she said, facing Guy. She then turned to Lee, who was looking expectantly back at her. You have funny eyebrows. His are better, Hana commented. But Lee began but was immediately interrupted by Guy. We are nearly late for training, he yelled as he picked Hana up and started running. Lee just gave Naruto an apologetic look before following his sensei. Good day, here I come, Naruto said before closing his door. Guy, Lee, and Hana arrived at the training ground with only 6 seconds left before the deadline. Even though most teams stopped meeting up as often after all of the members became Junin, Guy had insisted on training together. The training had paid off greatly, so neither Neji nor Tenten had objected. Okama was the first indication that today was going to be bad for Neji. Oh no, 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 he muttered. If it was for his plan and he had control of the situation, he had no problems with seeing Hana. However, when he has no control of the situation, he would rather not see her. Hey, Midori-sensei, is she on the team too? Hana asked, glancing at Tenten. Yes, I'm on the team. I'm guessing you're Hana, Tenten said. Not nearly as bad as Neji described her, nor nearly as great as Guy-sensei made her sound. She thought, observing the girl. Hello, Miss Baker. Hana yelled at Tenten. Miss Baker. My name's Tenten, the weapons enthusiast pointed out. Tenten-san, I believe that she is talking about your wonderful buns. Lee said loudly. Thanks, Lee, yours are nice too. Tenten said, blushing slightly. But Tenten-san, I do not have my hair in a similar style. Lee said, not catching the flirtation. Baka. Tenten mumbled. Baka is Japanese for idiot. Alright team, I hate to cut the conversation. Guy started before he realized his mistake. Cut. Tenten asked with a gleam in her eye. What's she doing? Hana asked as Tenten pulled out a small knife. Guy picked up a log and threw it a short distance from Tenten. Well, for some reason Tenten's flames of youth burn brightest when the word is said in her vicinity. If not for my quick thinking, she'd begin cutting the nearest thing to shreds, which is usually herself, so we just don't say it here. Guy explained as Tenten started to cut up the log, chuckling and saying, cut, over and over with increasing vigor. Sensei, are we going to be idiots all day or are we going to train? Neji asked coldly. Well, I had us scheduled for being idiots today, but since Hana's here, you and Lee can stretch while I get her into some proper training attire. Come on, Hana, that kimono will never do. Guy said in a sage-like tone. At around 5 o'clock, Naruto was sitting on a kitchen chair. He couldn't wait to just hang out. Ah, this is the life. Nothing planned, no intrusions, and best of all, no paperwork. Naruto thought while reclining slightly more into the chair. Suddenly there was a faint knock on the door. He decided to ignore it for a bit. After about 5 seconds of faint knocking, Naruto decided to see who was knocking. He got up and opened the door. Oh, hello Naruto-kun. Hinata said, looking away from him to hide her darkening face. Oh no, it was supposed to be Hana who answered. Hinata thought, her plan failing before it began. Oh hello Hinata. What do you want? Naruto asked, oblivious to her blush. OIW was going to SSC if Hana wanted to go eat again, kinda like the other time, at Ichiraku's, Hinata stuttered while poking her fingers together, remembering their first date, during which Naruto had carried her home because she had fainted, while Hana was out doing something with Shino. Oh, well, she went training with Guy Sensei and his team. I know, I'll go eat with ya. We going to Ichiraku's Aegean? Naruto asked while Hinata's blush got darker and darker. Another date, but this time without Hana. It will be like a real date. Hinata thought slowly. Surely this can't be real. She barely heard herself say yes before she was whisked out of the doorway by Naruto, dragging her by the wrist to the ramen shop. Tyuki was bewildered when he saw Naruto with a girl in his shop again, no less, it being Hyuga, Hinata. Hey Naruto, on another family outing? He asked, getting ready to cook up a storm. No, just me and Hinata today. Naruto said as he promptly ordered miso pork ramen. So it's a date? Tyuki asked nonchalantly. You're on a date? A second voice yelled from around the back. Appearing with a trail of dust behind her, Ayame immediately started bombarding Hinata with questions. How did this happen? How long has it been going on? Are you engaged? Am I invited to the wedding? What are the children's names? Am I asking too many questions? What would you like to eat? What time is it? How's Neji doing? Where's Hana? Naruto just chuckled as Ayame stopped talking. It's not a date, just a friendly lunch. She just showed up wanting to eat with Hana. I decided to go with her since Hana was gone. About 3 minutes. No children. Yes. I don't know. No clue. Why? With Guy Sensei. He then started stuffing his face with ramen again. Guy Sensei. You didn't. Tenten said, astounded. He did. Neji pointed out in a similar state of shock. Hana was standing next to Guy. Both of them were wearing green jumpsuits and standing stiff upright with their right arms thrust straight out while giving the three other Junin present a thumbs up. Ready to train Hana? Guy asked, dropping the pose. Yes, Midori-sensei. Hana yelled. Yes. Let us burn with the flames of youth. Guy yelled. As always, Midori-sensei. Hana shouted. Hana. Guy called. Midori-sensei. Hana responded. Hana. Guy repeated. Midori-sensei. Hana shouted. Lee. Lee sniffled. He remembered when he and Guy used to do that. Of course. We must get to training. Guy said as if breaking out of a trance. Okay, everyone, stop what you were doing and listen up. He yelled, getting their attention. Now Lee, take Hana and give her the basics of taijutsu. Tenten, you practice throwing multiple weapons at a single target. What of me, sensei? Neji asked. What is the most powerful force on earth? Guy asked the prodigy. Youth. Neji guessed. As you were. Guy said, smiling. Back at the ramen shop, Naruto had tried repetitively to beat Hana's record of fastest bowl of ramen eaten. He failed every time. Hinata sat in the next chair, amused by the sight. Kid, I do believe that you are, as the kids say, losing miserably. Cuba said somewhere around the 9th attempt. True, but I will win. No one beats me at eating ramen. Naruto yelled in his head. Kid, if we were competing, I would demolish you. I'd also eat faster. Kyuubi chuckled. But you could eat 1,000 gallons of the stuff in one bite. It's not fair. Naruto whined at the demon. Chalk 1 up to demons. The score, I believe, is around 1,009,076, 1,009,076 to 99, Kyuubi stated. Although in all reality, even I have to admit, it is not fair competition. NN Naruto-kun, when will Hana need P picked up? Hinata inquired quietly. Oh, in about an hour. Naruto stated, going back to his ramen. Oh, okay. Hinata mumbled under her breath, smiling. Yay. Another whole hour with Naruto-kun. How was that, old man? Naruto asked Yuki. 2 seconds too slow, he bluntly stated. Damn, I can't beat it. Naruto cried out. Maybe if you didn't use CH chopsticks it would work better. Hinata suggested. Maybe. Naruto said, thinking it over. One more bowl, old man. Here ya go, just don't get too messy with it. Yuki warned. Alright, Naruto said, slamming his face into the bowl, eating at the dish with a vigor unknown to many. NN Naruto-kun. Hinata breathed. She was enjoying this more than she should have, and she knew it. How was that? Naruto sked, his face smeared with bits of food. You beat it by 2 seconds. Now about your bill. Yuki stated. I'll get it, Yuki-san, Hinata mumbled. Thanks, Hinata. Hey, if you ever need anything just ask. Okay, I sure do owe you one. Naruto said, readjusting his headband. Alright, you two. I hate to kick you out, however it's 6. If what you told me is correct, Hana needs to be pried from the jaws of youth. Ayame chuckled. But, if he eats more I'll get more money. Yuki protested. Nah, we gotta get Hana before Guy-sensei gets her to do something weird. Naruto stated as he got up to leave. Hinata followed suit. At the training grounds, Guy-sensei. You didn't. Naruto said, his mouth wide open. Ah, but he did. Neji called over from where he was sitting. Daddy. Hana cried as she rushed towards Naruto with speed that no one would expect from a 7-year-old. As soon as she reached him, she tackled him to the ground. Ah, Naruto, Hana has performed beyond anything I would have expected. Guy said, walking up to the duo. Okay, Hana, we need to go home to get you ready for bed, okay? Naruto stated, getting up. It had taken them an hour to get to the training ground due to the fact that they got lost a few times. You start the academy tomorrow. Yes. Getting plenty of rest causes your youth to expand. Guy proclaimed. Okay then, Neji, you want to tag along? I'm going to walk Hinata home. Naruto asked. No thank you, Naruto, I have important training to do. Neji said, watching Tenten bash Lee in the head because he was being a baka. They arrived at the Hyuga Manor at 8 o'clock. As soon as it was in sight, Hana yelled out to a guard, Hey mister, why do you look like a girl? I assure you, I am a male. The guard responded. But you have long hair. Hana pointed out. Hana, stay here with your new friend while I take Hinata up to the door, okay? Naruto more asked than commanded. Okay. But you have pretty eyes. She stated, causing the guard to sigh. Thanks for today and Naruto-kun. Hinata stuttered, blushing slightly. You're welcome, I had fun today. Don't forget, if you need anything at all, just ask. Naruto said when they arrived at the door. Actually there is SSS something I'd like. Hinata said, her blush darkening. Really? What is it? Naruto asked, happy to be able to pay her back. Hug. Hinata mumbled just loud enough for Naruto to hear. Alrighty then, your favor. Naruto said as he hugged her tightly. Why a hug though? He asked during the embrace. No reason. She stuttered, causing it to be hard to understand. Well, I gotta go. Feel free to drop by anytime. Naruto said, releasing the blushing girl. Goodbye Naruto-kun. Hinata said, smiling. Happy that she had hugged her crush without fainting, and also because he practically invited her back to visit. See ya around. Naruto said, walking back to Hana and the guard, who was still arguing that he was a he and not a she as she had commented. Come on Hana, time to go home and go to bed. Bye lady. Hana called back to the guard, who just made a rude hand gesture and went back to patrolling. So what did you and Tomato do today? Oh, this and that. Oh, and Hana. Naruto said. Yes daddy. Hana inquired, shifting her Aburame glasses on her forehead, that she had gotten from Uncle Shino a few days prior. Please tell me you're not going to grow really bushy eyebrows. Hana. Naruto said, shaking the soundly sleeping girl. She asked, awakening slowly. It's time for your first day of school, K. Naruto asked the drowsy girl. School. Hana screamed at the top of her lungs, running towards the door. Naruto jumped in front of her, stopping her mere feet from the door. Wait, you have to get dressed first. He mumbled. Being trampled is never fun, even when it's only a 7-year-old. Getting dressed. She yelled, heading towards the bathroom. Can I wear my suit? She asked. Sure. Why not? Naruto said, shrugging. Yay. She exclaimed as she went to get dressed. Meanwhile, at the main Aburame house, Shino's family. Shino awoke at exactly 6 a.m. as he did every morning. Today is my day to cook breakfast, he thought as he put on his sunglasses. Down in the kitchen, his dad was reading a newspaper. Father, eggs? He asked shortly, out of politeness. Beat it, Shibi said, not looking up. He was indicating the way he wanted his eggs. No, Shino replied as he turned on the oven. Bad, Shibi retorted sourly. Anything happen? Shino asked, looking at his father. Man in the mirror, Shibi said, pointing to an article that told about a man who was flung into a mirror by his enraged wife. Shino handed his dad some toast. Any good? Thriller, Shibi replied sarcastically. Never mind, Shino said as he went back to cooking. I should make lunch for Hana. Knowing Naruto, he'll forget. At the academy. Hey daddy, who are these other people? Hana asked. They're your classmates, or at least most of them are. Naruto shrugged. Now I gotta go, I have a mission today. I'm going to pick you up after school, K. Okay daddy, Hana said as she ran off to bother the nearest person. I wonder how she's going to do. Naruto mumbled to himself. Me too. A voice from behind Naruto said in an emotionless tone. Ah, Naruto screamed. Sigh, what do you want? Naruto asked, panting. Well, I am here to tell you that you have a mission. Do not worry, an alternate transport has been set aside for your daughter. The pale artist said, walking off. I hate it when he does that. Naruto said to himself. When who does what? Sai said from behind Naruto. Ah, but, you, over there. Naruto asked in surprise. Clones are nice Sai said, walking off. I suppose I should get to my mission then, huh? Naruto asked. No one in particular. Yes, came an emotionless voice from behind Naruto. What the hell? Naruto asked, turning around to face the owner of the voice. I'm pretty sure that is no way to speak to an old friend. The owner of the voice, who turned out to be Gaara, said. I heard that you had a child and decided to come and see for myself. You really should go. We'll catch up when you're done with your mission. Okay then, see ya Gaara. Naruto yelled over his shoulder as he ran to the Hokage's office to receive his mission. I really do wonder how he beat me all those years ago. Gaara said, watching Naruto's retreating figure. Me too, came Sai's voice from behind the pale red head. You're the one that insulted Naruto, correct? Gaara asked the artist. I am, Sai replied. Half a second passed. Then for the first time in a long while, Sai fled in fear. Inside the academy. Hello kids, my name is Iruka, and I'll be your sensei for the next, however long it takes. Iruka said, chuckling to himself. Hey baddie sensei, Hana yelled in the back. Hana, please sit down. Now. Iruka started but stopped as two boys started talking in the front. As soon as they stopped he said, No, please continue, I would hate to interrupt your important conversation. Okay then, as I was saying. The kid with brown hair started before he was hit square in the head by a bat. He fell on the floor unconscious and bleeding badly. The other kids just stared at Iruka. Oh, crap, Iruka said, looking from the kid to the bat. Iruka sensei, I think you hurt him bad. A girl only feet away who had some blood on her said. She had purple hair. She was about Hana's height with small circular glasses that flashed when she looked at the boy. She wore a plain white shirt and light gray pants. Man, my bat's all bloody. Now I'm gonna have to clean it and repaint it. This is going to be a pain. Iruka said, examining his precious equipment. I don't think he's breathing. The girl said, leaning over the boy. Oh, sorry. He doesn't look too good right now. Iruka said, examining the boy's prone form. Roll him over. Okay sensei. The girl said as she rolled the kid over. His eyes were closed and he had blood all over his face. Wait a minute. Crap. He dented my bat. Now I'm gonna have to get a new one. Iruka mumbled, looking at the slight dent in the bat. I think someone should take him to the hospital. The girl suggested while trying to stop the bleeding as best a 7-year-old could. Well, I think we should just keep going with class. Understand class that if you become ninja that no one is going to baby you anymore. Iruka said, still examining his bat. But there are medical ninja in most squads. The girl pointed out. Good point. I'll take him to the hospital then. No one leave the room. Iruka said, picking the boy up and walked away, mumbling about, blood on my good shirt. Hey you, Hana yelled at the girl from 3 feet away. Yes, she asked. What's your name? Hana asked, closing the distance between them. It's Tenahira, Kusuri. I'm going to be the best medical ninja of all time. Kusuri said in a tone that could be considered condescending, but it was more than likely just a 7-year-old's way of trying to sound mature. Hey look, a bird. So what was your name? Hana asked, tearing her attention from the bird. Kusuri's face grew red in anger. I was talking, you know. She shouted. And who, may I ask, are you? She stated in a spiteful tone. My name is Uzumaki, Hana. Okay then Tanoko, Hana asked. Tanoko means the back of a hand. Don't call me that, Kusuri said in a whining tone. Why? Hana asked. Because it makes me feel weird. Kusuri replied. Why? Because it's not my name. Why? Because my parents named me something else. But it's a nickname. How would you like it if I called you Mimi? Mimi means ear. I wouldn't mind. You a terrible person. Why? Because you want to be. Why? Because you're rude. Why? Because you called me a name. All right class. Iruka called from the door as he came back from the hospital, take your seats. The group of children who had gathered around Hana and Kusuri sat down. I'll show her. Kusuri thought as she took her seat. How dare she mock me? I like her. Hana thought. I think I made a new friend. At the Hokage's office. He friend. A man of middling height said as Naruto entered Tsunade's office. Said Hokage looked more than relieved to be rid of the man. He was average in height. He wore seeing glasses that were almost too large for his eyes. He had a bushy head of curly brown hair that seemed to resemble Shino's. Hello Naruto, your mission is to get this guy to his village. It is only about 3 days from here and the risk is minimum. It is a C rank mission. Tsunade said in a bored tone. Yeah friend. My name's Tokage, Takamaru. I know what we can do. He suddenly shouted. Okay. Naruto asked. He was kinda surprised how this guy's voice could be an average deepness and still sound squeaky. Let's play a game, Takamaru suggested. Alright, Naruto said. He liked games, he usually won. Look up, Takamaru commanded quickly in a light tone. Okay, Naruto said as he looked at the ceiling. It looked as it always did. Plain. Now look down, Takamaru commanded. Sure, Naruto said as he looked down. The floor was about as interesting as this game was. Not at all. Now look at Mr. Frying Pan. Takamaru said. What? Naruto asked as he looked up just in time to get hit full in the face by a large silver frying pan. He immediately fell down in pain. Uh-oh. Ninja fall down go boom. Takamaru said dropping his frying pan. I learned that one from a great comedian. I'm a prop comic. Ah. Naruto cried as he got up slowly. What's wrong ninja? Takamaru asked in his normal voice tone. What's wrong? You hit me with a frying pan. Naruto screamed at Takamaru. I know, you're hungry aren't you? Takamaru asked. Hungry? No, I'm not hungry. Naruto yelled at the comedian. You're right we should really get going. Takamaru said as if answering a question. Naruto remember that you're not allowed to hurt the client. Tsunade yelled to Naruto as he left her office. Takamaru, I have to go make arrangements with something okay. Meet me at the North Village gates in about an hour. Naruto said as he went to go arrange who Hana would be staying with for the next 3 days. Okay friend, Takamaru said as he started counting the hair on his wrist. Hinata was walking towards the academy. I hope that I see Naruto-kun today. I heard he had a mission. She thought as she went towards the pickup area. The school would be letting out soon and she was hoping that Naruto would be there. The bell rung signaling the end of the school day. Hinata almost immediately spotted Hana who was talking to a girl, who didn't look happy to be there, that Hinata had never seen before. Hana must have made a new friend. So that's when my daddy said. Tomato. Hana yelled. She missed the glare that Kasuri sent in her direction. Hinata, what are you doing here? Naruto asked appearing beside the now blushing girl. IIC came to see if Hana W would like tea to come versus visit. Hinata said making up a lie on the spot. Hey Hinata, want to do me a huge favor? Naruto asked remembering that he had a mission. Anything F for YYUN Naruto-kun, Hinata mumbled inaudibly. When she saw that Naruto didn't hear she said, why yes NN Naruto-kun. Can you look after Hana for about 3 days? I'll owe you one. Naruto said as he explained his request. Sure. Hinata stuttered remembering the last time Naruto owed her one. Jackpot. Hinata stuttered in thought. Thanks. Here is a key to my apartment if you need anything from there. I'll need it back when I come back. Okay. See ya. Behave for Hinata okay Hana. Naruto said as he ran off. So I'm going to be hanging out with you and your family Tomato? Hana asked. Why yes. We should go talk to father about this. Hinata said as she grabbed Hana's hand and led her towards the Hyuga home. Oh, I think you should stop wearing the jumpsuit. Why? Hana asked. Hinata then proceeded to tell Hana that as women grow older their bodies change. She lied a lot and blushed the whole. Are we there yet? Takamaru asked loudly. No. Naruto sighed. They were only 12 minutes outside of the village when Takamaru first started asking if they were there yet. They were now only 13 minutes out of the village and the official count of, are we there yet? Being asked was 52. Okay then, Takamaru said as he looked at the surrounding trees. Finally. Silence. Naruto thought gleefully. He never thought that he'd be so happy to not hear anything. Say, friend, about how far out are we from Konoha? Takamaru asked. About 14 minutes. Why? Naruto asked the comic. No reason friend. Takamaru said in a tone of voice that indicated that he did indeed ask for a reason. I'm not your friend. Naruto pointed out venomously. Why not? Is this because I didn't bring food? Takamaru asked in a curious tone. You hit me with a frying pan. Naruto said in a slow, calm voice. Oh, did I? Takamaru asked thoughtfully. It just happened a few minutes ago. Naruto screamed in outrage. His outburst was met in silence. A few seconds passed before Naruto heard Takamaru ask, are we there yet? Naruto sighed again. This is going to be a long day. He thought. Back in Konoha. Father. See, can I talk tea to you? Hinata asked her dad, who was doing some paperwork at the time. Only if it is important. Hiyashi replied. See, can Uzumaki, Hana stay over for a few days? She asked quietly. The little girl who did not back away even when faced with the infamous Hyuga death glare. Hiyashi asked, not looking up from his paperwork. Why, yes. Hinata responded. Fine. She will be sleeping in Hanabi's room. Now leave me be, I have important paperwork to get to. Hiyashi said, finally looking up from the paper he was holding in his hand. Why, yes. Thank you, father. Hinata bowed and then walked as fast as she could out of the room. This should be interesting, Hiyashi said aloud as he reached into his desk and pulled out an orange book. Now I really do wonder what the fuss is about this. Chapter 1, Hiyashi said as he started to read. Well, tomato, Hana asked loudly. Can I stay? Why, yes. Father didn't seem to mind. Why you will be sleeping I in my sister's room. Hinata stated barely above a whisper. Yay, Hana shouted, running around. She then stopped and looked at Hinata. So I'm sleeping in Okama's room? Hinata almost laughed. No, Neji ni-san is my cousin. Didn't I tell you? Anyway, Hanabi ni-chan sleeps in the room next to me. Yay. So when do I meet her? Hana asked, looking around. Right now, came a voice from up a staircase. When Hanabi had emerged into view, she looked at Hinata and asked in a haughty tone only Hyugas could use, what is it that I hear about sharing my room? Well, father said that Hana must sleep in your room. Hinata stuttered. Fair enough. Little girl, Hanabi said, looking down at Hana. I assume she means you, therefore I will point out a few ground rules. You must always address me as Hanabi-sama until I inform you otherwise. Second, you are not to touch my closet. Third, and most importantly, you will not interrupt my sleep. She said in a commanding tone. She really didn't like ordering people around, however a Hyuga main branch member must always give orders to their inferiors. Quote. Hana just stared at Hanabi for a second, then turned her gaze towards Hinata. Is there a change of clothes in your room? Hinata nodded and then said, yes. Go up there. I'll be there as soon. Thank you, tomato. Hana replied calmly, turned to the stairway, and then took off running while screaming. I'm going to D. Hinata ni-chan, what was the meaning of that? Hanabi said, staring at the space where Hana had just ran to. I told HRTH that if women wear SP spandex suits, L like the one G guy sensei and Lee-san wear they X explode. Hinata said. She then looked as though she remembered something very important. She took off running and called out, Hana, don't touch my closet. Hanabi sighed and turned towards the front door as she thought, are all people's lives like this? If so, maybe I am wrong to admire them. With Naruto and Takamaru. Sue, are we there yet? Takamaru asked. It was getting late into the night and he had yet to stop asking that question. No, we'll stop here, okay. Naruto sighed as he set down his pack. Takamaru set his down as well and then looked at a tree. Hey, I forgot something, stay here and get some food cooking K. I'll be back in about 2 minutes. Takamaru said as he ran out of sight into the woods. I should follow him, but he'd probably just hit me with a frying pan. Naruto said to himself as he started cooking the instant ramen. Takamaru returned just in time for the ramen to finish. Say, what's for grub? He put his hand in his pocket as he asked the question. Ramen. It's really hot. What did you forget? Naruto asked. He couldn't have left it in Konoha. No one can move that fast. Must be important though. He suspects. Takamaru thought. Say, friend, are you lying to me? He then asked. No, it really is hot. Naruto stated bluntly. You better hope you're lying. Takamaru stated. Why? Naruto started before the steaming broth from Takamaru's bowl splashed him in the face. Naruto fell over screaming, grabbing at his face and sweeping the liquid off his face. Now I know what you're thinking, probably something along the lines of, get it off of me, get it off of me. However, I wouldn't advise myself to touch that stuff. From the looks of it, It's very hot. By the way, I'm going to borrow your bowl. Takamaru said as he grabbed Naruto's bowl and started eating. After this episode ended, Takamaru fell asleep. What a jerk. Naruto thought as he made another bowl of ramen. Agreed. Let's kill him. Kyuubi said. Everything that happens to Kid happens to me too. This guy really is a jerk. Can't. Oba-chan would have a fit. You seem awfully friendly as of late. Are you finally a nice little demon? Naruto thought sincerely. Kid, if you were trapped unable to move for 15 years, you would jump at the chance to converse with anyone. I was the freest being on the planet before getting sealed, so this need has only increased. But, to answer your question, no, I am not a nice little demon as you put it. Given the chance, I would destroy you, your friends, the village, and anyone else to escape. Keeping you alive only increases the likelihood of escape. Kyuubi said in a quiet tone. Ah, was all Naruto responded with. He then fell asleep. The next morning at the Hyuga household, Hinata was humming quietly to herself as she cooked breakfast for the family. She always awoke before the others and felt that it was her duty to cook. Tomato? Hana asked sleepily from the doorway. Yes, Hinata replied. When do I have to leave? Hana asked sitting down. In about 20 minutes. Hinata answered. Hello, Ni-chan, came a voice from the doorway. Oh, hello Hanabi Ni-chan, how did you sleep? Hinata asked turning towards Hanabi and nearly shrieked at the sight before her. Hanabi's hair was tangled and knotted all over, it also contained several leafy twigs. Turning her attention to Hanabi's face, she noticed that she had bags under her eyes. Her clothes were the ones from the day before, only now instead of being pressed and wrinkle-free, it now looked as though Hanabi had wrestled a bear. Fine. Hanabi muttered. She then sat down as far away from Hana as one could get at the table. Hey Hanabi Ni-chan, would you take Hana to school? Hinata asked as she went back to cooking. Hanabi's head hit the table as she started to cry. Inside the academy, Hana had already found Kusuri and had started to talk to her, were then approached by a boy who said in an apathetic tone, she doesn't like you, I think. Who are you? Hana said loudly, turning her attention from Kusuri to the boy. You can call me Unagi, if you want. Everyone else does. The boy said, shrugging. He had brown hair that came close to his eyes, his face lacked emotion. He also wore a gray coat with black patches on the arms, shoulders, and back. His pants were just blue standard shinobi pants. He slouched slightly. But what's your real name? Hana asked again. The boy perked up slightly. Murasaki, Sitamaru, he said, his voice not changing in the slightest. Okay then Hidari, Hana said loudly. Hidari means left. The boy didn't respond but went back to his seat because the teacher had entered the room. Hello class, Shikamaru drawled. Uruka-sensei will not be with you for a few weeks due to criminal charges of assault. Hey smokestack, Hana called from her seat. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed slightly before he said, now we were scheduled to start teaching chakra theory to you guys today. However, I have decided that your taijutsu needs work. 50 laps around the school. Let's go. He signaled for the class to get up and follow. Yay. 50 laps. Hana yelled, laughing as she ran to be first out of the room. It's 100 for that, Shikamaru said as he walked outside. Baka. Kusuri thought when she heard this. Wonderful. Sitamaru thought sarcastically. I'm going to win, Hana shouted as soon as Shikamaru said go. She was far ahead of the class before they started. I won't lose to her, Kusuri thought as she started to catch up. How troublesome, Shikamaru mumbled, reaching for a cigarette.